Greetings to whoever may be watching this. My name is Samantha, and I, along with my team members, Bianca and Adrit, have collaboratively come together to express our concern on the issues of sexism in sports. To further understand our topic, sexism is defined as stereotyping or discrimination typically against the female sex. In regards to sports, research and statistics show that women do not get paid as much, and overall, women's sports are not as celebrated as men's sports since the majority of people do not find it as entertaining. In the BBC Elite British Sportswomen Survey, 65% of respondents had suffered sexism, but only 10% reported it. The figures have worsened over the past 5 years since the last survey was carried out. In 2015, 41% had suffered sexism, with only 7% reporting it. Women feel suppressed and afraid to really come out with their struggles faced because of sexism. People who do share their struggles end up getting backlash for being dramatic and complaining too much. Apart from that, women do not get as much recognition even if they do the same sport as men. If and it gets worse as in addition to that, women end up getting paid less.
Sexism in sports is not just affecting the women already involved in sports, but it also demotivates the large number of women who are aspiring to do something related to sports. Statistics show that 1.5 million fewer women than men participate in sport at least once a month, and women make up only 18% of qualified coaches and 9% of senior coaches. An Olympic gold medalist explained how she felt when she discovered a less high profile male athlete was getting paid more than her by the same sponsor. She became known for arguing that men are still getting more money and there is not any valid reason for it. Moreover, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization came out with an article that highlighted the decrease of gender equality in sports media. One quote from the article reads that media representations of sports and athletes can contribute to the construction of harmful gender stereotypes. Media tend to represent women athletes as women first and athletes second. This is clearly an issue that requires fixing. However, what makes it so hard to do is the fact that it requires people to change their mindsets and outlook on women participating in sporting events. We have gotten the opinion on a few students and teachers on this issue. Let us look at what they have to share. Thank you.
Mr. Sushil responded, "Yes, there is sexism in sports, as there are so many games or sports in which women started playing recently. If you talk about the biggest competition in the world, which is Olympics, most of the games or sports were started in men category, and then later women started taking part in those games. It's not only the participation, it depends on the media as well. As you see, all the media always talks about the male sportsmen and they're least interested in women competitions. As a sports teacher in schools, I don't think that girls get lesser opportunities in sporting events, but I can say that girls are a bit less interested in sports as compared to boys. As a result, the authorities organize less competitions for girls. I have experienced some where schools or authorities have cancelled the women competitions due to the less number of teams participating in it.
My answer to the first question totally lies in how girls and how boys are raised up in a culture or in a society. What do they learn about? How they internalize their gendered beliefs, values, and practices? How they formulate their ideas about how or who they are or how they are supposed to act? All of these would lead to certain stereotypes about them and the activities that they should involve. For me, as I believe or what I see around is that sports are generally considered as a very masculine domain. And this stereotype results in boys perceiving a greater ability and they attach greater importance to sports than girls, and because of which most of the parents, as their daughters hit puberty or even before that, they give very less encouragement to be physically active. They are always asked to be passive, physically restricted, and very quiet. And this stereotype alone, when they are forced to them, especially by their parents or their supporters itself, will make them too restrictive and keep them away from such area of field.
So, speaking by association, sports and athletics are predominantly still seen to be something better done or more appropriate for a man to do rather than a woman. I think this is because, historically speaking, through the centuries and decades, men have been brought up to channel their competition and their aggression into things like games and sports, while women were taught to do the opposite and brought up to be the fairer sex. I believe that that has kind of permeated into what makes up social norms even today. I mean, the hardcore evidence is you can see a man's sports team getting, more prominent sponsorships, more favorable public image, more viewership, more fan following, better financial resources. They have better pay in comparison to a women's sports team. And while we need to accept that and appreciate the change, the great strides in change, in any shape and form, I still believe that this inequality and, this sexism will obviously demotivate and act like a barrier to entry for a woman. Before she even considers, uptaking or pursuing a career in the sports industry.
I'm not saying this to call out any of the PE teachers. In fact, most of them are mainly the reason why I'm here today participating in the girls' football team. But I would say I started my training since I was like in year 4 or 5, and I did realize that I was always paired up with the girls. So it's not that I'm complaining about it necessarily. In fact, the girls I did play with were really good. It's just even when I did move up higher and higher, and you could say I got better too, I was still paired up with the girls because the common stereotype is that their physical attributes make them better. So in this case, since I'm a girl, my physical similarity is with another girl, despite our skill set being different. So I think that was a bit of a downer because I would never really excel from. I would never play with like the big boys, and that was a bit of a downer. But yeah, again, like I'm saying, the reason I'm here in the girls football team today is because of all that conditioning and encouraging that the teachers have done to me. Mr. Sushil replied with 5 answers. So the first one is more competition from the grassroots itself, so that girls would be more interested into games. Second is media coverage. Third is more sponsors. Fourth is awareness among the girls. And fifth one is awareness to the parents to motivate the girls to get them into sports.
Answer to the second question is that reports say that 65% of sportswomen have suffered sexism in their sports, but only 10% felt comfortable to report it. Why? I believe it's mainly because they think that the male coaches would not understand them or won't take them seriously. Moreover, they also feel that their chance of selection for a particular team would be harmed. So, but why? I would like to advise that they should stand up and speak out against sexism. It is not appropriate and it is completely disrespectful. So they should be taught how to be assertive and how to speak against what has been done to them. Secondly, is about sports psychologists. The significance or importance of sports psychologist has to be focused on. Sports psychologist has to be brought to this area of field wherein they would be a guider, a mentor, or a counselor, especially for women, about their mental well-being, focusing on getting them more participating in sports, working in sport at every level, etc. This can itself can lead to a major difference in all of this.
So I believe the way moving forward is educating the masses, educating the children who might eventually aspire to be sportsmen, educating the people working in the sports industry. That involves educating athletes, educating sponsors, educating trainers, coaches. I think it also means educating the governments who are responsible for allocating resources between the different national sports teams. I also, most definitely believe that the masses, like the audience or like the fans of the sport, should definitely be educated and taught to understand and accept that sport is as much a woman's game as it is a man's game. you know uh, it's a really really vital for to really just get rid of any gaping inequality in pay or any sort of open discrimination that might exist between both the sexes in the sport industry. And I think education, raising awareness, teaching the right principles of sportsmanship and equality is key.
After looking at the interviews, we can see a common trend in that all people do believe that sexism in sports is present and prevalent. We will be ending this video by showing you what you as individuals can do to limit sexism in sports. The most common applicable solution right now is to show awareness and educate others on this issue. Not only will it showcase to others that the difference in sex does not determine the decrease in skills when it comes to the female race, but it will also motivate girls with potential in sports to come forward and shine. Secondly, everyone should take charge and correct others who believe that girls do not have it within them. People blinded by the stereotype that sports is and always will be related to boys will only further believe that girls cannot play sports well. It is our duty as individuals of a society to correct those people by showing them that girls are equally as applicable to be playing sports. With these people being present, girls will feel too judged to be able to express themselves by playing. So, if these criticizing people learn the truth, it will only be easier for these girls to play without feeling judged. Lastly, we all just need to normalize girls being playing sports. Only when that is considered normal will people not treat it as a big deal that a girl is playing sports and instead see it the same way they say men's sports. With that, our group concludes our video. Hope you have learned something new and valuable.